All right.
See the live stream up here?
All set, Eric?
Should be good to go.
Okay. Good evening. I want to like to call the meeting of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for 27 May 2026 to order. Please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Lorraine.
Yeah, Commissioner Kane,
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Hartley, here, Commissioner Minor, Commissioner Pascarelli,
Here.
Chairman Sobieski.
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Rice Davis,
She,
Commissioner Gill.
Here. Hey, is Ally on or?
so Maureen, Bryce Davis is online,
Okay.
and then we have a new commissioner that's also online, Zehina Morales. If you wanna-
She's
I
in
can
the.
give you her name after.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so, Rice Davis is online, you said?
I see her there, yes.
We see her there with, she has not unmuted yet to.
I think she just did.
When she does unmute, I'll appoint her to sit in for Commissioner Minor. Okay.
You hear us, Ally?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, you're gonna be sitting in for Commissioner Minor, okay? Ally?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the agenda, Paul.
No changes.
Okay, very good. First round of public participation. I'm wishing to speak to the public participation.
Sorry about that, Michael. Necessary part. That was my fault.
All right, we're all set. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
You got it. Jacob Knowlton on 10 Hillside Street. Citizen hat off, Krog hat on. I just wanted to give you a couple updates. I believe Commissioner Kane, you are the one to receive emails from us, but just so all of you know, next week on Thursday, we're having RPC. Everyone is welcome to come. Obviously, for voting actions, only your representative can vote, but we're going to be going through a few things. The first is going to be updates on kind of the existing landscape on what we're receiving for referrals when it comes to that middle housing piece. So we're going to do some comparisons. And then the other part is going to be, we just finished up a warehousing study. I'm not too sure how relevant that is for Newington, but we have some best practices that we're going to be kind of asking you some things on, including temperature, a temperature in the room for things like impact fees and community contracts and things like that. So I just want to give those updates. The last thing I'll say is I have not forgotten about what we've discussed about sound and soundproofing. I'm just waiting on responses from certain folks in Hartford. And then I even reached out to New York just because of their level of standards when it comes to soundproofing are pretty high next to those transit stations. So I'm using a couple contacts there, just waiting on those responses. And then once I get that, I'll be producing something for y'all. So that's all. Thank you.
Hey, Jacob, can I ask you please to forward the link? Is that going to be a Zoom meeting?
Yes, it will. And
Would you please forward the link to Paul so we could forward it to everybody?
you got it. No problem.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Line has her hand raised.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Me.
Yes.
Neil Ryan, 237 Brockett Street, the heart and soul of Newington. I want to briefly discuss the parcel of land located at the intersection of Brockett Street and Kitts Lane. I believe the parcel is currently owned by the Citgo Atlantis convenience store. And up until about 3 years ago, the parcel was made of a large number of big trees. It was a mini forest, which was great because it made for a fantastic buffer between the Berlin Turnpike and Brockett Street and Kitts Lane. Unfortunately, at that time, Citgo Atlantis decided to level the entire forest. Presumably, Citgo Atlantis is looking to make the property look more appealing and also attracting interest from a developer or someone, a business or whatever. As of now, I'm not aware of any activity going on with respect to the property or any projects that I'm aware of. So I want to know, what I want to ask is if the town would ever consider acquiring the property and converting it into a small park with a gazebo, some benches surrounded by some arborvitae trees. This would create some more open space and would make the residents of Brockett Street and Kiss Lane very happy. I'm not sure if that is feasible, but I just want to throw it out there for your consideration. Thank you for your time. The end.
Thanks, Neil. Paul?
Yep, again, I can forward that along to the town manager and also at the next open space meeting. I can note that that has been brought up by a citizen who had a request.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
No one online has their hand raised,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Remarks by commissioners. Any remarks by the commissioners? Okay. We have no public hearings. Approval of the minutes. Oh, no, we're not.
Yep, so I'll
the
just
minutes
say-
We're not
Yep, it
ready,
was
so-
on there. The
Go ahead.
minutes, they are available for your review. They will be on the next agenda for approval.
Okay. All right, next is new business. Jia, read petition TPZ 26-10.
Yeah, petition TPZ 2610 zoning regulation amendments to address Special Session Public Act 25-1 middle housing, parking requirements and associated updates, multiple sections, including sections 2.1, 3.10, 3.11, 3.13, 3.19, 3.20, 3.5, 5.5, 6.0, 6.1, 7.4, and 9.2. Applicant Newington TPZ, contact Paul Dixon, Town Planner.
All right, so tonight, Mike is joining us again. After the last meeting, I officially submitted these to my own office to have that, and also did submit, as noted in the packet. There was a very small update, just asking the commission to review. There haven't been any changes since the last meeting, because unfortunately, last meeting ran a little long with the Stillman proposal for the pre-app. But hopefully you've had a chance to review these regulations. And what we're asking for you tonight is some feedback. So these have been submitted to CROG for the 30-day review period. As noted by Jacob, that these will be subject on that June 4th meeting, kind of that review of the capital of the actual regional planning commission. And I have included in your packet the cover letter that was submitted to CROG, noting some of the areas where I see there could be potential changes. And these are some of the areas that I would like the commission to give some focused feedback to staff as well. These will have to be revised per the way that we, statutory for working on regulations. They need to be posted in the clerk's office no later than 10 days before, or no sooner than whatever, no later than 10 days before the actual hearing. The TPZ okayed the hearing for a special meeting for the 17th. That's kind of our background. So Mike is here tonight. He does have to run to another meeting. We kind of double booked him and took what time we could from him today. And just to kind of go over and kind of help us focus a little on some questions, not necessarily go through line by line. I think we can do that even more so afterwards, but I think Mike's kind of jump in, give some overview, and then we want to gather your feedback tonight.
Mike, please name and address for records, please.
It's on.
You can pull it up
You
closer.
can pull it closer to your face post.
Yeah, thanks. Mike D'Amato, Tyke Planning and Policy Group with an office in Vernon, Connecticut. As Paul mentioned, we were here, I don't know how long ago it was now, a few weeks ago, to talk about sort of the initial approach and get your feedback on how to tackle this requirement sort of at a high level, and then have put together a proposed amendment that is reflective of kind of those conversations and some of the, I think the conversations that are occurring sort of broadly across the state for how a lot of these things are being handled. So We can do this a couple of ways. If you have comments, questions, or things that you think aren't clear, we can certainly just start with what's at the top of mind and then go through some things, as Paul mentioned, that we might want some specific feedback on and just continue to refine. Or if you don't have anything at the moment, we can start talking through when, the sections and kind of some of the different components of what's been proposed. And go from there, whatever you think is best.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just had a question on middle housing. That's laid out here and there's a section 5.514 that talks about alternative compliance.
Yep.
And aren't we going a little far, being open to so many different changes for discussion and action? Doesn't that break down the consistency of perhaps an area that's consistent with its design of roofs, et cetera? I guess my question is, how far do we intend to go with alternative issues? And is that a state requirement right now? No. I'm not being critical of it. I'm just trying to get a sense of how it all.
Sure. So it is not a state requirement. This was drafted in part to recognize the imperfectness of the law as it was initially drafted and the recognition that there will be situations where a cut and dry summary review is going to be ambiguous in certain respects. And there may be cases just like you deal with now, where it's very clear that the project, the language of any regulation as written isn't necessarily, doesn't hit the ground as you intended for that specific project, but maybe doesn't warrant a full-blown amendment to the zoning regulations. So what we're doing is providing a different option for applicants to still demonstrate the requirements of the reg without just doing sort of the old school approach, which is just to say, you don't need to meet it, we'll waive it. Because we know that we can't do that. And you'll see, one of the things that we're looking at and trying to provide an option, particularly when you're talking about conversions and at the end of the day, this really comes down to money. You can adopt the best summary review middle housing regulations in the state, but the money has to work for whoever's going to develop it if we're going to see it. So one of the things that plays into that conversation is shown in D, which is to have the project provide a deed restricted unit, affordable unit. So again, it's putting the commission in a position to have a conversation with a developer about maybe trading off physical site improvements or renovations to something in the building, and what the town gets in return is a deed restricted affordable unit. But this is not mandatory. An applicant can always just go the summary review route and get that. But if for some reason they would elect to do this, they can, but it's not mandatory.
And are there any other communities that are going to consider this alternative compliance?
Yeah, we've had a few communities that have said, we think that this summary review thing is happening too fast as it is, and we don't want to think any harder about it than we have to. Let's strike it. And we'll come back around to it in 6 months or a year when we see how this regulation unfolds. We've had some other towns that have gone this route and are going this route because they recognize that there's going to be situations where this is just not going to fit perfectly, and they want to come up with a way to be responsive. So I don't know about a percentage, but we have several towns that are including this language.
So who would be the ultimate decision maker if a change, say the town planner thinks, well, this change isn't consistent, is a dramatic difference from his neighbors or her neighbors? Who would make that final decision? TPZ or?
Yes, so as written, if someone opts into this process, they would then be subject to the special permit procedures that you have already. So they'd come before you and they would make the case to you and you would vet that and have a hearing and be able to go through that. I don't want to use the term subjective, but more discretionary vetting. And if they say, yeah, this is getting a little bit too complicated for me, or I don't think I want to do this, or I don't want to have a hearing, they still have all of the standards and process afforded to them by the summary review. So there's no one that will be sort of mandated to go into this.
So this A through D, is that what word correct? Who created that concept? Is that from us or?
The six of them there, because it does bleed onto, I think it's the regulation, page 14. I don't know what it is in your packet. Those are compiled through sort of multiple iterations of having these conversations. So this was not existing language that came from the town.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Gill, any questions? Commissioner Kane?
I have a very minor comment. Page 9. Section 5.5.5, subsection C. Subsection or subparagraph 5. The second to last sentence. Says at least 50% of the plantings shall be coniferous. I think maybe we should clarify that those need to be evergreen coniferous because there are deciduous conifers. So if the idea of requiring coniferous plantings is that they're evergreen, I think it would be worth clarifying because there are some coniferous plants that do drop there.
Yep, I think that's a easy, clearly defined, yeah.
Just a very
Yep.
straightforward comment.
Is there any consistent, do your current regulations have any terminology that we should be mirroring?
Buffering has stuff about evergreens. Yeah.
Okay, so we can carry the term then.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll just try to make those consistent.
There are also evergreen broadleaf.
Certain magnolias.
What's that, Commissioner Kane?
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pascarelli?
I don't have any comments at this time.
Commissioner Woods?
I'm good right now. You have two online. You have two commissioners online.
Yes.
so I can't-
Commissioner Davis?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Who's the other commissioner?
Commissioner Morales.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Morales. Sorry. Have any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't have that many questions. I like the plantings. I definitely want to try to home in on those a little more tighter, I think. Yeah, we would definitely want to give the buffer residents and, or this residential area and commercial or industrial around it. And then that's about it.
Can I hit on the things from your memo, just so we can get some, since we have some time? So in Paul's memo, he said, clarify I think there are 3 items that he was looking for some thoughts, either agreement or just, I guess a confirmation that maybe there's another approach the commission would like to take. The first one is 5.5.3 C, which pertains to how applications are treated in what would come before you, and then in certain circumstances, what would go to staff only. And so we've had this conversation in a couple of places, and I think there's 2 sides to this. And one side is, if you review these applications, then you obviously know that they're going before planning and building, and you get a sense of what's happening. Flip side to that is, that sometimes there can be some frustration when things show up on the agenda and someone shows up to be interested and you tell them that they can't participate. So I think there's definitely pros and cons because you can't hear from members of the public during presence or have a public hearing or post a sign or, do all of those things. So I think what we've tried to do is split that and make sure that the larger projects, particularly now that we're starting off from scratch and have no idea what will happen from this bill, will still come before you. But the smaller stuff that really is sort of not something we believe at this point someone might notice or would have any real impact would go just to staff. So the bottom of page 7 is where that starts, and it talks about town plan and zoning commission review. So applications which propose the construction of one or more principal buildings or the expansion of an existing building of more than 2,000 square feet. So those would come before the commission. And then anything 5 or more units would come before the commission. So if you had something that was less than that, or something that proposed a minor addition to an existing building, those would be something that would be reviewed by staff. Same metrics, same review standards, same sort of yes, no process. And there's nothing to say that staff couldn't report to the commission that those had been done. But if you have an existing building that's been there for 50 years and it's been vacant and they want to convert it into a handful of residential units, there's not a lot that anybody is going to see externally. And as we talked about before, in almost every case, traffic and those things are going to be less intense with a residential use than allowable commercial use. So we were thinking that might not be something that you need to see given some of the other stuff you can have on your agenda and what that looks like. But we obviously welcome feedback and can strike that and have that reflect what you think is.
The only thing that comes to mind, Mike, is that if you have an abandoned building that has been used for 5 years, 10 years, residents get used to low volume traffic or no traffic at all. And all of a sudden, somebody puts us 10, 12 units in. Anticipated traffic is going to increase on that road. So I think, my opinion, again, commissioners could feel free to speak whatever they want. But my opinion, I think we need to have some type of summary review on that. I mean, the only concern I'm thinking about, if you're on a dead end street and, building's been closed for 10, 15 years, whatever it is, all of a sudden you put in 10 units. Well, that's not a lot of traffic. It's still going to upset people who have not seen a lot of traffic there. I think you might want to consider that. That's my opinion.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have no issue with everything coming to the commission until you got we do not know if the volume is going to be none, 1, 3.
Right. I'm just using
yeah.
that as an example.
And again, there's no absolute offense whatsoever if the commission says we do want to see what's coming in. And then if you get a couple of them who show up and you're like, all right, this is just dragging on the agenda, we can do this. Yes, you can handle these 2 or 3, 4, whatever, that type of thing. You can add that in. Again, from the start when we were talking about this regulation is we see this as the first step. This is something that gives us something to work off of, and we'll continue to revise it. And probably even after an application or 2 comes in, you'll look at these regulations and say, all right, well, maybe this section didn't work perfect for us. We could do a little better, and we would just revise our regulations. These ones I do see need tweaking because this is a newer concept to commissions as a whole.
At some point, you're right, down the line, once we get this going, if we see that staff can handle this without too much of an issue, then I don't think there's any objection from the commissioners to let staff handle some of them, right? But, any commissioner have a problem with that? Commissioner Harpy?
I would agree, especially if it's a situation that you can take care of, but you're getting a heavy pushback by that entity or partnership that you want to have discussed with us. I think you should feel comfortable in doing that. Unless you feel otherwise.
Nope. I said it's a new concept. And again, there's absolutely no offense. It's just a matter of how you would like to see these handled because they're your regulations at the end of the day. So it's how you would like it processed. And again, I think we'll see, depending on what happens and what gets built, you'll see the severity or lack of severity of it. And then you go, okay, this and that, and we can kind of mix and match. I have a feeling that some of these in some communities are probably gonna be mostly done eventually after everyone gets used to this on a more administrative basis. Every community has different things. There are many communities have everything by special permit. There's many communities where you can actually build something up to 90 units by administrative permit. So every town in Connecticut will do this a different way.
Mr. Woods?
We need to establish a policy on where that line is drawn, you know, if it's 1,000 square foot, if it's 3 units, if it's 5. Yeah, can we on one application, okay, you're gonna build 5 units, we wanna see it. Next person comes in, they're gonna do 7 units, we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't sound like that would work.
We would have to revise the regulation. So that's why it's kind of in front of you right here. It's, the policy is the regulations and in a clearly understood objective, threshold. So again, if it's everything right now and then you decide, okay, no, or if you want to set a threshold now, it's just something for you to think about. Again, we have no problem with you just saying, nope, we want to hand them all right now and we'll just revise that section that it all goes to the commission.
I mean, it may come to a point where once you've done a few of these or whatever, how many we get, like I said, we don't know, that you hear a small presentation that comes before you and say, yeah, just handle it administratively and just kind of turn it over to us and you guys are done with it. I mean, but at least you're aware of it moving forward.
Yeah, again, what you propose here with the 2,000 square feet, I don't think I have an issue with it, but it's a little relative, right? If it's 2,000 square feet, what size building?
Right.
We haven't really narrowed that down. If it's 100,000 square foot building and it's 2,000 square feet added on, that's nothing, it's collateral.
Yeah.
Right?
And
If it's a 2,000 square foot building, you're adding 2,000 square feet, we just double the size of the building.
yeah. I think based on what I'm hearing, we'll just revise to have everything come before the TPZ. I think what you may want to consider down the road, maybe after you've done half a dozen or maybe after a year, another approach which you could take is to decide that you don't think you need to see these things in certain locations. So maybe in the BTC, you're not worried about it because there's ample parking with the town parking lot, but you're more concerned in, the business zone or CD, or for example, I don't know, but you could also, as long as the language is very clearly written, you can draw that line however you want. You can say in this zone, we don't care. If it's an existing building, we do care. Size. I mean, you could look at any number of things when you start to really see how this is going to work, but maybe you'll start there and maybe the BTC is a zone where you have less heartburn and can see how that works.
What I've struggled with this all along is that I don't see where this is really gonna impact us negatively, knowing the town the way that I know it.
Agreed.
I really don't. Not to say that it couldn't, because if it does pass, and it's gonna come to fruition, that, people are gonna try to make money off of it, and rightly so, that we're looking to have more units, with a huge shortage nationwide, to the tune of what, 30 million to 40 million units. But again, I know the town pretty well. I just don't see a lot of opportunities where this is going to work well, where people would want to live. And having said that, look, the Spark is being built. Who would have thought people would want to live, on Cedar Street, basically, right? I just rode by it today. That third story is level with the road, but they're probably going to rent them. What's the one on Payne Road, Payne and Maselli? What do they call it?
Pike.
The Pike.
It's Pike. It's surrounded by industrial land. There's a construction yard on one side, storage people on the other side. So we're evolving. People it's changing. And I'm not judging whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but they're building them, they're renting them, people are staying in them. But again, I don't see how these are this particular smaller quantity is gonna impact us greatly, especially on the negative side.
Yeah, I think that, largely this is not that big of a deal, but it has caused towns that have more pressure, particularly on the housing side, to think more critically about regulations, because many towns rely heavily on, well, we'll just call it a special permit and then we can condition it however we want. And that makes the process arbitrary. So this has caused everybody to have to think about what do we think matters. And if you build what we think is important, at such a low number, right? No more than 9, you're not likely to have a large impact, and it's still very expensive to do this.
There's one complex in town, the old, Briarwood Pharmacy on the corner of Stoddard Street, right? So that possibly that could change, and I guess I have mixed feelings. I don't know if it ever would, because I still think it's too valuable as retail space. But could that be turned into 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 units? Probably could be. I don't know that it would negatively impact that area. It is a residential area. It's kind of, the business was there before the town really got built up. It was a grocery store, hardware store, and pharmacy.
They had a barber shop in there. They had a hair, dry cleaners at one time.
So, I mean, I'm willing to, if we move forward this step, maybe most of them should come to us. And then once we're comfortable, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of them, but if there is in fact a lot of them, we can get a comfort zone where you guys handle this administratively. This is what we want to handle.
Yeah, I think that's also a good idea, or also, when we're looking at this, staff can get that background of the commission's true interpretation of these regulations, how they're applied, and you set the policy.
You
And
don't
then
even
that
know,
policy
right?
goes forward.
So
Yeah.
you get something in front of you.
Right, yeah,
This
you
is
get
all
something in
we're
front
gonna
of you, these are words, and then you get what it actually is gonna show up, and then you have to interpret them and look at and work with that person. That's the joy of zoning regulations, unless it's build this one specific picture, which we do have some ideas for people to look at too. And some of those we'll continue to update them as we're going through the process, but they're pretty well kind of noted that. That's why this is actually newer for us here too, which is good, that we're trying to provide some good imagery for people to understand what we're looking at.
We had an event last week for planners, and I participated in a panel and I talked about this, and there was a developer who does a lot of multifamily development north of Hartford. And one of the things that he didn't say directly, but that I took away from his presentation is that, ultimately what they did in the project that he highlighted, which was new, but I think the principle applies, which is that they were able to, because they could do ground floor units, which they made ADA accessible, and the way that they ultimately structured the building, they were able to create street level, public facing commercial spaces that were of a size that a local business could afford and was willing to take the risk on. The cost per square foot is, he referenced about half of the residential side. And so if you have a building that has 1,000 or 1,200 square feet on the ground floor, that is way too big and expensive for a small mom and pop or a barber. So what you may find is that this creates some flexibility so that you can have a unit in the back that's residential, and maybe they can make that space more appropriate for the market, because this cost per square foot and the space that they have just doesn't work. So, maybe that's what you'll see. It's still going to be expensive. They got to convert it to a residential use, which under the building code is not going to be cheap, but maybe there's some flexibility there, and it'll actually unlock some small scale local business potential, because now they don't need to get so much from that one tenant. But yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I read somewhere that individual housing under all this new rollout, information on state can be converted to multi-housing. Correct?
Individual, you mean
Like a normal residential home of 4.
So under this provision and with this regulation, we are only talking about commercial zones. So this would not apply to any residential zone or any. Yeah, so that's separate. There was some language pertaining to ADUs that was proposed unrelated to this, but this would only apply to commercial zones.
So
Okay, but is there anything really definitive? What is a commercial zone under these new standards? Because everything seems to be mixed together. It's
So-
part of the focus issue they don't have.
So yes, in 552, which is page 7, we list the the 5 zones that this is applicable to. And I may have mentioned this at the last meeting, but something to kind of keep in mind, because, you know, we've had this all happen very fast and we're all having to be responsive to language that we didn't really know was coming. This is not like 8-30G where someone's going to come in here and tell you, you know, they are going to do something 2 to 9 units and they're going to do a conversion. And so there's nothing you can do about it and they want their permit. You still have the right to adopt language. You administer the application in accordance with the reg. If they don't like it, they can appeal your decision to Superior Court, or they can submit a text amendment. So you haven't lost any authority in how this will all work. We've just been given very strict marching orders on what the regulation needs to say, but you are still in full control of the decision and haven't lost anything, you know, sort of on the back end of that. But there are provisions within the bill, which we're not incorporating here, which give towns the ability to opt into additional provisions, and you could apply these same requirements to your residential zones. You could choose to do that if you want, but we're not proposing that here. But some towns are, but that's not contemplated anywhere with it throughout this draft, and we're not suggesting you consider that, frankly, at this point.
Okay, but to go back to the original point that Mr. Woods was making, we wouldn't want to see a policy where we handcuff the town planner about bringing us things that he thinks that he'd like to have a second look at. And I don't think he feels that at this point. If he does, he can tell us. If it's become too onerous, then I think you should convey to the 2 chairs that there's an issue you want to be resolved.
Yep.
As a group. I wouldn't be offended by that.
And I think having them come to the commission, as we were discussing first, just sets a good level of expectation, and we're all gonna learn this together. Because we're all in it together. This is new, so we all learn it together and then we pull from there.
You know, and
So
I know
no-
there's a lot of pressure on you. We all appreciate the fact that there's a lot of pressure because of the way this stuff is coming down. It might be for the betterment, but half the legislature didn't read the bill, so at least half of them couldn't help you out. The other half likely would, if they're in attendance. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
I have nothing right now.
Commissioner Gill?
All set.
Commissioner Pascarelli? Okay.
I
Can I
think
make one more comment? Sorry to interrupt. Oh, there's people online, sorry.
I just want to make sure the other, Commissioner Davis?
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Morales?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
All right.
So there's a couple of things that I think I'll work with Paul on to refine with some of this language, nothing substantial or that's going to change the trajectory, but there's a few things that we've kind of already talked about clarifying to make a little bit more clear or less wordy. So the draft that you'll have for your next meeting will be improved slightly. One of the things that we've included, and I think we could incorporate if you want, I can send you to get to Commissioner Harpy's point. In some towns, we've included explicitly what the staff review process is. So it talks about referral to fire marshal, town engineer, because without the public hearing process, how you might gain comments from the fire marshal who may have a concern about building separation. You know, we all know that's part of the process, but it's not captured anywhere. So we've included some language that says once an application is received, it will be referred to, you know, intermunicipal departments so they can review for blah, blah, blah. So we're incorporating that to make it very clear that, you know, outside of the public hearing process, we will still get comments from other code agencies. Not to say we would prefer that they use this type of flower versus that type of shrub, but to talk about code-based concerns that they might have at the very beginning. So things like that we'll try to refine so that you have language to consider incorporating for the 17th.
The only thing I'd like to add is that I would like the fire chief also to look at these. That he would be in a review process. Okay, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because he knows what his vehicles or apparatus or trucks, whatever you want to call them, what the radius is to fit. I don't want to handicap him, and I don't want to handicap, if we're going to do anything with additional roadway in any way, shape or form, I'd like Rob called in on it too.
Mhm.
I want to make sure all of our partners that work together now in TPZ have input into this. I know it's a lot of work for you, Paul, but
No, I'd say it's the way we should be doing things on a normal
right,
basis,
but
so I'm
I'm
good
just
with that.
saying, I want to make sure the police department, everybody has input into it, because with the more eyes look at something, better off you are, and more of a better chance you have to catching something that maybe somebody else misses. That's my concern here. As long as we put that in the regulation, it's fine.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll get that in for your,
Okay.
ahead of your 17th meeting. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
That's it for now.
That's it for now. And the last item I add to is, again, there's a lot of, and you can keep this in mind too, we can always put it in later as you review these and keep honing into them, is think about that if we want to include that minimum lot size or lot size per dwelling unit. There's a lot more in these regulations now, I think, that kind of go into the design, which really do the same principle and actually probably even make it clearer and cleaner to what's expected. But that's just something I would like you to think towards, because it is something that I identified for CROG, which they might have an opinion back to, as well as in the revisions, or I should say in their review of it and letter back. But it's something for the commission to consider, because that was in one of the previous ones. It was taken out of this one, but I think that the way these have been written is we're working more towards how it's laid out on the lot, the landscaping, a lot of the more important factors rather than an arbitrary number. Which if you think about it, you know, our numbers now of 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet, that's really not that much lot area. And could you even really make something work on something that small? You know, a 2-family on a 3,000 square foot lot would be a very difficult thing to even build.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on.
All right, so I'll ask, since Mike is done, if the commission has any other questions, comments for me. But again, the
They can
plan.
email you directly.
You can talk to me. We're gonna put this forward. We're gonna do the revisions, get it posted next week in the clerk's office.
Right.
For that hearing on the 17th. And again, how I see this going forward is, yes, if the commission has something in place by July 1st, great. If it takes more time to work on this and we have to deal with an application that comes in between, we're working on it. It's important to get something done, but it's also important to everyone to understand what we're approving and really dig in with these. So again, we're here to work with you through this process. But again, there will be a special meeting, just a reminder for everyone on the 17th.
So it's a special meeting, right?
Yeah, special meeting. Yep, it'll just for this item, the public hearing for this, so there'll be no other applications to do that. The public will be completely, invited to speak. I do want to tell you that, it should be either by Friday or by Monday of next week when I have this stuff put together. Charlie Nevers, from my office has been working with Monique, from the GIS department. This was kind of, one of the earlier comments we got about how this stuff gets presented. We're working on, it's ArcGIS story map, that kind of goes through, instead of having a static page, as you scroll through, it's a little more dynamic. It's something that I've actually, it's been used out there in the planning world, but it'll be newer for us to use it more often. But I think this would be a good tool for us to use whenever we're going to propose our own regulations. So once that kind of gets out there, we'll put it on social media. When that hearing will be, I will work with the fire department to get it onto the EMS, the message board. I'll work with the IT department as well to get it on these screens in town. So I am that thought of, can we get it out there? We are working on extra ways to get this done and in a different way for people to digest this information, because when you put regulations like this in front of people, this is a lot to digest. So just an understanding about what the act is and what it really does, and even the zones it impacts, that's kind of the information out there that, that we took those comments from the previous meeting, and we're going to have that story map that puts that out there.
As long as we get it out, I want the general public as much as we can.
Yep.
All right, I want to make sure everybody here, I don't want them to rely on Facebook.
Yep.
I want them to rely on the facts.
Yep, and a lot of that, well, that's why we'll put it on Facebook, on the town's one, it will be put on, but then we'll encourage counselors, anyone who has a presence, who wants to get it out to their constituents as well, just so it's understood.
I want to give you
Is there a
drop dead date.
well, yeah, we'll work on it. Okay. Yeah, and I think a lot will come through the process, but again, there will be, there is a drop dead date. It's actually would be the weekend. So by next week, by the end of the week, we have to have these, at least what are gonna be the subject of the hearing posted. And again, we can continue to make revisions, we can continue to go through the process, but per statutes, I have to have it in the clerk's office.
Can we make sure that it's easier to access for the general public through to the webpage for the town?
Good luck on that.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think on the story map, and Charlie, feel free to, because you've been working on that, feel free to chime in, but I think we'll have the link directly to the proposed regulations, or at least right to the page where they're gonna be posted.
I'd like to try and make it as easy as possible. People are not so computer savvy and with the way our website is. So, all right, any other questions? None. All right, move on, Paul.
Okay.
Whole business, we have none. Petitions for scheduling.
Yep, so there are 3 petitions for scheduling. I am working with, so item A, for the place of assembly for recreation, the indoor kids gym. I have gotten a little more information today from the applicant. Again, we have scheduled this for the 10th. Depending on how we work with them, whether it gets pushed to the next, but we do need to open this one by the 2nd meeting in next month. Otherwise, we'll have to get an extension from the applicant. Again, we've been kind of working with them and Farmington as well, because they have building permits in Farmington for it right now, and not the approvals here yet, and the approvals there. This is one of those odd buildings, as we know, the swim school was 100% in ours. This is mostly in ours. So because it's mostly in our town, we're gonna be handling the special permit for this aspect, talking about parking, going through that. So we're getting the comments back from them. So we have that, at least it'll be in the paper tomorrow that the hearing is on the 10th, and then we'll move forward with that. So we did get some more comments. So B, as people know, that'll be a hearing for sale of alcoholic beverages at Slobby Waffle on the Business Berlin Turnpike. And C, so this is one item that this was at a pre-application in front of the commission before. So this is for 179 Lewis Street for the Argon tank. So when we reviewed the regulations do specifically say a special structure for a special design, but it says when approved by the commission. I reviewed the thing. When we did talk to the commission on the pre-application, we noted a special permit. But with re-review, there is no actual requirement for a special permit for it. It's still gonna come in front of the commission. There wasn't, that many comments on the pre-application, but I just wanna update people on that will be at the meeting as well on the 10th. As a site plan mod and the height modification per that section 4.4.3 for that Argon tank. And they'll provide information, they've kind of updated all their materials, and those will be up on our website tomorrow of the updated materials that they had under our current land use applications. So that's just to give you an idea of the one scheduling. As of right now, all 3 of these are scheduled for the 10th, and then we'll continue to work with the applicants.
Any other applications? That's it, right, Paul?
Yep.
Okay, communications?
I do not have too much other than, we have I don't have too much on the update unless people have questions for me today as well. But as we noted, we're continuing to talk with the Stillman Group. I plan on working with them on whatever regulation amendments they want to bring forward to the commission. And, because I don't want to lose momentum for the town center. So that's a very important thing for the department. And the current land use applications, can just remind everyone, we'll make sure those are updated for tomorrow. So that everything I mentioned that's scheduled will be up there. And no communications.
All right. Public participation, second round, and we should come up and speak.
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no in the room, okay. Remarks by commissioners.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Arpey.
Paul, what's the status of the project that Mr. Snow is running on Kits Lane?
So as of right now, I believe he actually has some initial permits that are submitted, but we do not have final plans for that. So right now, no zoning permits have been issued for those.
Right, they've been placed on hold because we have not received their final plans.
Yep, so they do not have a go for building until they gave us those final Mylars, which have all the final details worked out for, the fence, for a couple other items that were all the commission's required modifications.
Which they had seemed to agree to when they
Yes.
were here. I don't know if they still do or.
Yep, yeah, it's just a matter of getting, you know, again, they have their zoning, you know, they have their site plan approval under 830G. They came to you, they have the approval, has the conditions, it's ready to go for them to just give us the final plans and then start the process.
And the second project that they came in for off of Lewis, what's,
Yep, that's the same thing. We're waiting for final plans on that as well.
But they haven't submitted any building permits for that yet.
Yep, so nothing's been submitted for that.
Have they gotten anything from the MDC?
Not that I know of. Nothing's been forwarded to us.
Okay,
And we would see that typically with the final plans, especially before they do building permit plans, because I know that the building official needs those to be able to sign off.
okay, thank you, Paul. Any other remarks from commissioners? Hearing none. Closed remarks, I want to thank everybody for being here. You've accomplished a lot, in my opinion. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
You.